Hey everyone, it's Mary Ann Pizzatola, New York City Organization of Public Service Retirees. So things are heating up and I find this exciting. So what is happening? All the unions, I shouldn't say all, a lot of the unions are going around trying to convince their employees that are hearing our message, reading the articles in the newspaper, that our message is wrong. And to prove you how scared they are, they've actually come up with this 3-page letter called Healthcare Matters. Well, I guess healthcare matters unless you're a union in debt to the city of New York. Filled with misinformation, inaccuracies, scare tactics. Don't worry, we're coming out with something to debunk their BS. In the meantime, one of the tools that they're using to try to scare the hell out of you, the active worker, is the decision by the judge. So recap real fast. Our organization, we weren't even an organization. We were just a bunch of retirees that were ill, retired, infirm, 9/11 responders, people over 65, 75, 85, 95. I met a retiree today who's 99. So we didn't really give a damn about what the unions are doing. We're retired until you tried to take our health care away. Then you lit us on fire. So what did we do? Organize, you know, like good union people do. We organized. We went from not knowing anybody to have a Facebook page of over 27,000 people to, over 17.1 thousand people today, another 10,000 or so on our email list, another almost 2,500 people, 2,800 people on our YouTube channel. We're followed by another 1,000 people on LinkedIn and Twitter, and we're out there and people are listening, including you guys. So thank you for giving us the benefit of the doubt. I always say, just don't believe the words we're saying. Please look into what we're saying. Fact check us, because that way you do your research and you will realize what we're saying to you is fact, because you're proving it to yourself, okay? So one of the things I want to clear up for you is the judge's decision, because this is important. They're using this as a weapon. So let's share this with you. And then we can actually explain it. The judge, this decision came down in March of 2022. And of course, I'm one of those people that has a million windows open. Now I have to find where it is. This looks like it. Okay, let's make this bigger. There you go. Now, this was a decision. Came out March 3rd. You can see it right here. March 3rd, 2022. This was our organization, New York City Organization of Public Service Retirees, our representative plaintiffs, because we were a class group, against the city of New York. Now, these are all the documents that are listed in the court case, and you can go look them up. You can go read them all online. They're on the NYSIF website. So originally we had the restraining order. Then we had the restraining order renewed. So then the summary judgment, and then here was our decision. The underlying petition arises out of allegations that respondents have unlawfully amended the Medicare plan of current retirees. The court previously held on October 21st, 2021, that the selection of the alliance to administer the proposed Medicare Advantage Plus plan, the plan, was not arbitrary and capricious. However, the implementation of the plan was irrational, and many of the details of the plan required refinement. Based on that determination, the court granted a preliminary injunction to allow respondents to clarify and make adjustments consistent with the court's order. So now, keep going. The parties have since made multiple submissions and appearances before the court. As a result, the preliminary injunction is now vacated and the underlying petition is ripe for resolution. For the reasons set forth below, the petition is granted to the extent indicated below, and the respondent's motion to dismiss the petition is denied. First, the respondents and nominal respondent have taken many strides to improve the information while regarding the plan, and thus, while the steps they have taken may not make things perfect, the court finds that at this point, the implementation of the Medicare Advantage plan is no longer what the court would consider irrational. Second, much of the legal arguments made by the petitioners are unavailing. The respondent was well within its right to work with the Municipal Labor Council to change how retirees get their health insurance. as the municipal labor. Unions are entities that enter into collective bargaining agreements. Those unions, under the umbrella Municipal Labor Council, may amend those agreements. Moreover, even if the court were to find the labor unions may not bind retirees, this would only mean that respondents could act alone without the Municipal Labor Council, which nevertheless would still not invalidate the argument that was reached here. Now, what does that really mean? Well, we also allege that the MLC couldn't represent retirees because we are not employees and we are not dues paying members. We have no due process in their organizations because the MLC keeps saying that they represent us through our unions. Well, we all called our unions last year when this lawsuit started, and all the unions said, no, we don't represent you, sorry. So that proved up on face that no, the unions don't. But clearly the judge was concerned if we are just left up to the city to do bad things to us, they will, because the unions are supposed to protect you. So he was kind of fearful to say the unions really don't, but he does know, and this is clear, even if they don't, you know, the city could still do this to you unilaterally. So it wasn't a decision that he wanted to make, but I will tell you, PERB and OCB both state the unions do not represent retirees. So sorry guys, hate to tell you. This is why unions always protected retirees, because you never wanted to enter into this area you just did. Third, as petitioners freely acknowledge, the New York State Constitution does not guarantee specific health insurance for retirees. What does that mean? So this refers to Article 5, Section 7 of the New York State Constitution. Remember when we said in another video, you never open the state constitution? There's a reason why you don't open the state constitution, because you don't ever want to change Article 5, Section 7 that guarantees your pension will never be diminished. It only covers pension, doesn't cover health insurance. And this is why this is your equivalent. Administrative Code 12-126 is your equivalent to the New York State Constitution. Don't touch it. However, based on this court's reading of the New York City Administrative Code Section 12-126, so long as the respondent is given the retirees the option of staying in their current program, they may not do so by changing the 191 the respondent intends to charge. This section states unequivocally that the city will pay the entire cost of health insurance coverage for city employees, city retirees, and their dependents, not to exceed 100% of the full cost of HIP HMO on a category basis, which we have also advised you in one of our other videos, that this means that the city has to pay up to this cap on the category basis of individual and family. Now, the respondent and nominal respondent aver that the definition of health insurance coverage as defined in the Administrative Code 12-126A, stating a program as opposed to any program, means that the city of New York need only pay for the entire cost of one program. And that's what the city argued. We only got to pay for one program. The judge here says, no, you don't. Okay, let's say that one more time, because it feels a few unions don't seem to understand this, including the UFT. Hello, Michael Mulgrew. MLC, hello, boys. Please pay attention. One more time. Here we go. The city will pay the entire cost of health insurance coverage for city employees, city retirees, and their dependents, not to exceed 100% of the full cost of HIP HMO on a category basis. Respondent and nominal respondent aver that the definition of health insurance coverage as defined in Administrative Code 12-126A, stating, and I quote, a program as opposed to any program, means that City of New York need only pay for the entire cost of one program. This court respectfully disagrees. New York City Administrative Code 12-126B1, simply unequivocal, and does not use the term like provide or offer. Rather, it uses the term will pay, and it provides parameters for such payment. The definition in New York City Admin Code 12-126A4 simply provides what constitutes a program or plan that the City of New York is required by law to pay for by defining the contents of such a plan. This court holds that this is the only reasonable way of interpreting this section. And this is really important because this tells you exactly that the court looked at the rule to say that they had to pay up to this cap for the plans that were offered to all of us. Now, this is the part that they're using to twist the way that they're defining this message to you. Of course, none of this is to say that the respondent must give retirees an option of plans, nor that if the plan goes above the threshold discussed in the New York City Administrative Code 12-126B1, that the respondent cannot pass along the cost above the threshold to the retiree. Only that if there is to be an option of more than one plan, that the respondent may not pass any cost of the prior plan to the retirees, as it is the court's understanding that the threshold is not crossed by the cost of the retiree's current health insurance plan. This is buoyed by the fact that the current plan has been paid for by the respondent in full to this point. Based on the foregoing, it is therefore ordered, before I get there, he just talked about past practice for the last 55 years, okay? Now, a quick point. We have always paid up over that threshold cap. If you take a plan that's more expensive, like an Empire plan or a Cigna plan or whatever the heck those other plans are that were like $2,500 a month, you have to pay the difference up to that cap. If the cap is $900 and plan's $2,000, you pay the difference, okay? So he is clearly stating to you, he acknowledges we have had a choice of plans, 11 plans for actives, I think 14 plans for retirees, or 14 and 11, I forget which way it goes. But we've always had choice, right? You still have choice. He wasn't taking choice away. He was just telling the city, as long as you're still giving the retirees a choice, you still have to pay for it if it's under the cap. Ordered. Therefore, it is ordered that the preliminary injunction previously put in place by this court is lifted, except, now this is the decision. 1, enrollment in Medicare Advantage plan may not occur until at least April 1st of 2022, and the retiree shall have the option of opting out of the Medicare Advantage plan for not less than 3 months following the effective date of the Medicare Advantage plan. And that was to give you a chance to get into it, feel it out, make all the changes. If you don't like it, get out. The respondent is permanently enjoined from passing along any cost of the New York City's retirees' current plan to the retirees or to any of their dependents, except where such plan rises above the HIP HMO threshold as provided by the New York City Admin Code 12-126. This meant that when they tried to force us into that Medicare Advantage plan and force us to pay a premium for a plan that we've had at no cost for the last 55 years, then the city could no longer do that because that violated the code. And 3, this is the last order. The respondent shall ensure that the retirees and dependents of such retirees pay the deductible for only one plan. And this is because they were trying to tell us that if we went into the Medicare Advantage plan and we didn't like it and we opted out and went back into our GHI senior care, we would then be subjected to the deductible all over again. So you'd have like a $233 deductible in the MA plan and then $233 again in your traditional Medicare. This is it, guys. This is the decision. And he reinforces the law basically to say, no, you can't do this. You have to pay up to the code no matter what happens, and that's it. So I'm disgusted that the unions are lying to you still, and it seems like they're just never going to try to, they're just not going to get around doing it. And the reason is because they literally have to cover themselves for the bad decisions, that they made. They owe the city $1 billion because of their bad deals. And they don't want to pay for it. They want it to come out of your pocket or our pocket. Well, actually, at this point, I think it's coming out of both of our pockets. But there's one more document I do want to share with you, and I did post this up the other day. So this document is called the 1992 agreement, which is still in effect today. This document is between OLR and the MLC. You'll see it's dated in 1992, and it is an agreement relating to the procurement of employee health benefit contracts. This letter shall serve to memorialize the agreement between the City of New York and the MLC with regard to the procurement of employee health benefit contracts, which are the subject of collective bargaining between the city and the unions. So the city can't take away all of the choice of plans currently on the table unless the MLC lets them. But guess what? The MLC wants to do this because they spent all the money in the health insurance stabilization fund. They allowed the teachers to take $1 billion out of it. They allowed the city to take money out of it. They've taken money out of it to fund their welfare funds. And now the money is dry because we sued to protect our rights and not be screwed in retirement. And because the judge found what we said legally responsible, that what they were doing was illegal, then the money that the city promised them for doing what they were doing, a quid pro quo, you do this to them, we'll give you the money. So like that was their vig, right? so the unions got caught. Now all of a sudden it's declared illegal and they still owe the city money. And this is why the city said it again. You change this law, you do an RFP to replace the active workers plan. We told you it was coming. That's coming out in a couple weeks. October is the date. And then you put those Medicare eligible retirees into a Medicare Advantage plan and we'll forgive the over $1 billion that you owe us. Nice, right? Again, closed door deals no one knows about. But your union presidents do, they're just not sharing the details with you. Yeah, man, this shit gets me fired up. It is understood and agreed to by the parties hereto that the city and the union shall jointly continue to participate in all aspects of the procurement process by which the choice of vendors of collectively bargained health benefits shall be made. They can't just take your shit away. Labor is labor. Fight for your shit, man. We fought for it. You fight to protect it. This is what you have. This is your agreement. They can't take it away. You have choice. They have to fight to take your stuff away. Don't let them do it. Basically, what you're saying is that you have a finite value and that the city won't allow you to be paid or earn any more because you're only worth this much. Guys, you're worth so much more. Don't let them take it away. They're saying, this is all you're worth, and if you want something over here, take something out of the box and I'll give you what's over here. When did you do that? That's attrition bargaining. You guys are breaking your asses. Your numbers are down. You don't have staffing. Why in the world would you allow them to take something away from you? We earned this. Fight to protect this. Don't disappoint us. You give this up, you've given up everything. It's the last thing you got left. 12-126 has a built-in cost of living increase. It's like an inflation builder built into it. No matter how high that HIP HMO rate goes up, you never pay more than it. Never. Have you noticed? Since 1967, you've always had free plans. Every time that rate went up, money going into the stabilization fund allowed you to have HIP or GHI as a free plan. Because in the years when the HIP plan was more expensive than GHI, money went into the fund. However, the GHI plan has been creeping up, and you should be asking Emblem Health, why the hell is that? When the GHI plan is higher, money has to come out to equalize both plans so that they're both at the same price. The city puts about $35 million every year into it, and that's been collectively bargained. But the unions have been sucking money out of that fund like no tomorrow. And they've allowed the city to take money out of it and not replenish it. It's also funding PICA. And at this point, PICA and the welfare funds should probably be consolidated. And instead of every union having their own welfare fund, there should be one central welfare fund, one administrator, not every union with their own administrator. With the PICA plan, it's probably going to need a very small premium. Like our Medicare D programs, they're usually about $30 a month. But you're able to get drugs for thousands and thousands of dollars under those plans. You've got to think smart. You're destroying your health care and your access to it by keep putting these impediments in the way of your utilization of your health care. When you're young, you may not so notice. When you're older, every copay, every deductible, and every prior authorization, the only purpose is to prevent you from using your health insurance. A la not go to the doctor. Think about it, please. You really should meet with us. Hope you're listening.